We're the Spooky Hoochies, and this is Soul Sessions. We are a trio of soul sisters who get together every weekend over the phone to discuss our favorite paranormal cases and give you, the listener, the opportunity to eavesdrop on that conversation. Spend the night with the Spooky Hoochies.
In Southington, Connecticut, there is a house that looks like any other. Quiet and unassuming, nestled in an ordinary neighborhood. But appearances can be deceiving, for within those walls lie one of the most infamous haunting cases in modern history. Long before the Snedeker family moved in, the house served a very different purpose. It was a funeral home. Bodies were embalmed in the basement. Coffins lined the room. The grieving passed through its doors, leaving behind heavy echoes of sorrow and loss. Though the mortuary closed, its atmosphere of death lingered, like a shadow that never fully lifted. In 1986, Carmen and Al Snedeker moved their family into this house, seeking a new beginning. But soon, the home revealed itself as something far darker. Strange noises, cold and heavy air, objects moving without explanation. The family reported terrifying visions, shadows that seemed alive, whispers that wouldn't stop, and a presence so oppressive it threatened to consume them and destroy their family. The Snedekers claimed that they were under siege by forces not just ghostly, but demonic. Their story drew the attention of renowned investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who would later call this case the site of one of the most disturbing and powerful demonic infestations that they had ever encountered. Skeptics dismissed it, believers swore it was true. Either way, the Snedeker house has carved its place into paranormal history, inspiring books, documentaries, and even a Hollywood film. Tonight, we're going to step inside the house, not with fear, but with curiosity. Because in this house, the dead may not rest quietly, but neither will we. This is the story of the Snedeker haunting.
In 1986, Alan and Carmen Snedeker moved their 4 children from rural New York to Southington, Connecticut. The move was one of necessity. Their eldest son, Stephen, had a rare and aggressive form of cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma. The constant trips to the hospital in Connecticut for treatment made it essential to move closer than the 2-hour drive they had been making. The family found a house near the hospital in a quiet neighborhood. The rent was reasonable, with the option for them to buy the home if they chose to. But what they didn't know was that the house held more secrets than that would soon be revealed to them. After moving in, the Snedekers were informed that the house was once a funeral home. This was something not disclosed by the landlord. They also discovered what was left of an embalming room in the basement. A lift, hooks, a metal table, and drains, all used for preparing bodies for funerals, remained in the basement of the home. Within days of moving into the home, Stephen began showing strange behavior. His parents first believed that the chemotherapy and radiation treatments he was receiving were the cause of his personality changes. Stephen refused to go down to the basement. He claimed someone was down there watching from the darkness. When he eventually did go down there, he felt unnaturally cold. At night, Stephen heard whispers and saw shadows gliding across his ceiling. One night, he woke his mother screaming. When she ran into his room, he was shaking and staring at the wall. He said something was there and it was trying to get inside him. As time went on, Stephen became aggressive. He would say things he later didn't remember. His siblings grew afraid of him, and one night Carmen found him in the dark in the basement murmuring prayers backwards. His behavior even carried over to school. He was suspended for a violent episode. He attacked his cousin and claimed voices told him to do it. He was finally admitted into a hospital for trauma-induced schizophrenia. And with Stephen gone, the activity continued. One incident involved Carmen and her niece looking into a mirror, and it turned totally black. Then a figure of a lipless, deformed face with empty eyes began to form. The figure looked at them and then vanished with a high-pitched hum. The mirror was left as if nothing had happened. Over time, the activity increased. The Snedeker family heard the sounds of chains and whispers. They saw shadows appear out of nowhere, doors opened on their own, and the stench of something rotten rotting filled the house. The occurrences in the home were emotionally destroying the family. There were daily arguments amongst them. Determined to save the family, Carmen researched the house. She found that it once was the Hallahan Funeral Home, operating from the 1930s to the late 1970s. Carmen also found newspaper articles from the 1960s stating that a former employee of the funeral home was accused of necrophilia and satanic rituals. He was never convicted due to lack of evidence. He was accused of performing rituals with corpses in the basement. The rituals were an attempt to summon something to transcend death. The Snedekers contacted their local priest in an attempt to get some sort of help. The church avoided involvement, but did approve a cleansing ritual with no results. The activity continued with entities appearing at night, physical attacks, and demonic visions. The family was informed about the Warrens, so they reached out to the couple for help. In 1987, Ed and Lorraine Warren arrived at the Snedeker home. Lorraine immediately said she felt an evil presence. Ed investigated the basement, where he found traces of symbols carved into the wood and black candles burned all the way down. He also found a hidden compartment with photos of deceased people in ritual positions. The Warrens investigated for weeks. Recorders, cameras, and temperature sensors were installed. Sessions with mediums were held. During their investigation, temperature changes of 15 degrees in seconds were documented. Recordings of guttural voices were captured when no one was home. The medium was physically attacked during a session and remained unconscious for hours. Lorraine believed there were several entities in the house, with one main entity described as ancient, inhuman, and wanted to enter Stephen. The most intense incident happened in week 3 of the investigation. Carmen and Lorraine were downstairs in the kitchen when they heard a crash above them. They ran upstairs to find one of the younger sons in Stephen's room, suspended 8 inches off the ground, arms outstretched and head thrown back. He was then violently thrown against the wall. He was conscious the whole time, screaming nonstop, "The man in the black suit, the man in the black suit." That was enough to make the family temporarily move to a nearby relative's house. Ed Warren performed a deliverance ritual in the basement with the approval of a priest. During the ritual, lights flickered, temperatures drastically dropped, the walls of the house seemed to breathe. Stephen fell to the floor convulsing. Ed pressed across to his head. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the house changed. The room grew warm and a feeling of relief swept over everyone. The activity ended from that point. 3 months later, with the consent of the church, the Warrens deemed the house clean. Shortly after the ritual, the Snedekers moved. In 1992, they co-wrote In a Dark Place with the Warrens and Ray Garton. Years later, Garton admitted that some events were dramatized. Even into adulthood, Stephen confirmed the activity in the house. Did the Snedekers really experience these terrifying events, or were they just looking for attention? Was this truly one of the most disturbing cases the Warrens investigated? You decide.
So, right off the bat, okay, I'm just gonna cut the shit here. Ed Warren's a liar. Any validity around any of their cases, to me, has now just dissipated. You sent me that video, which was the Sally Jesse Raphael show from,
Yeah.
I don't remember what year that was, whenever all this was really happening. But I watched the whole damn thing, and Ed Warren sat up there, and I've seen 3 separate articles now, because we've done 3 separate cases where he's claimed, and he said it on that show, to have done 10,000 cases. Embellishment or not, no. I mean, you can't investigate 2 cases at the same time.
No.
You can't.
Well, investigating and proving are 2 different things, but I don't see how that's possible at all to have done that much.
Every single damn one of them has been infested.
Okay, well, there's my trigger word. Okay, so let me tell you what I found out about that.
So does my memory serve me correct? This guy, Ray Garton, was involved in the Amityville book too?
I don't think he was involved in that book. I don't think he was involved in that book. I think he had some kind of ties with Kaplan that Sherry brought up with last time. That I was not able to research, but I did find out a lot about Ray Garton, and he was one of the dissenting voices in all of this. And I made that point to say that the only people who seemed to have corroborated the story was something to gain. one of which being the Warrens, whether they did their shit for free or not. Like I said last week, he was a shrewd businessman and he was planning for the future. He knew what to do.
Right.
And he didn't have to take money from these people.
One of the things right off the bat that I had found was, okay, so the Snedekers claimed that the landlord did not disclose to them that it had been a previous funeral home. The landlord claimed that he did disclose it because, that's something you have to disclose to people, things like that. But the landlord and several other people within the community and several other people that knew the Snedekers have all said that everything ramped up when they were behind on rent or they couldn't afford rent. That's when everything would kick up and, all of these things would intensify.
Well, I feel like that was a claim that was made on the last case too, wasn't it?
Well, we kind of deducted that they probably couldn't afford their home.
Right.
Right, the mortgage or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
the landlord said he never really heard anything about any activity along with neighbors. And I don't know if you've looked up, proximities along with neighbors of this place. They said they never heard of any activities or anything until there was financial troubles. And when there was financial troubles, then all of the activity started kicking up.
Yeah, and there were actually neighbors on that show, on that talk show, that were, most of them were disputing the claims, and there was one or two that was corroborating claims, but they didn't really have anything that was verifiable, just creepy feelings or whatever. They're just kind of like, right, blah, 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 whatever. But you're infested word. Why is every case so far infested? I found the answer to that.
Okay.
So,
I have to know this.
This language was used, and this is an AI overview from Google, by the way. This language was used for some of his most famous cases. The Warrens investigated blah, blah, blah. No, they did not. This is the $10,000 or 10,000th claim. However, infestation is a known part of Ed Warren's terminology to describe a stage of demonic activity. According to a quote from Warren on Goodreads, demonic progression happens in 4 stages.
Right.
Encroachment, a spirit finds an opening to a person. Infestation, demons first haunt at a person's house. Oppression, I didn't apparently screenshot. Okay. Oppression, spirits begin trying to take over the person, and then possession, a full takeover occurs. That's according to Ed Warren.
So it's not infested, I guess, in the sense that we're thinking.
Right.
Like a bug infestation. An infestation is where the demon is in the home.
Yes, they've entered.
So that makes sense.
You know what, though? That does actually kind of, like, in our field of what we're talking about, when you talk about a level of haunting, that does kind of break it down into kind of a terminology that we would understand, So I'll give them that.
But yeah.
Did they ever release any evidence in this particular case? I know the last one they had, like, the glowing eye kid or whatever.
Don't know, because my lines are outside of the research that I did. My lines are blurred between the quote unquote reality of it and the movies. So.
Right. I mean, because, yeah.
Well, I don't think there is a reality of it.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Well, here's why. Because as I was looking up that information on infestation, I was also looking up the whole 10,000 cases claim. And I found out they started investigating in the 50s, which we knew, but they started investigating after an incident in their home.
Well, I mean, you and I started investigating after an incident, and you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I can't say that.
But
it's kind of, I compare that to, and it's apples and oranges, but it's not. I compare that to me wanting to become a juvenile probation officer because I've been on the parent side of it. And what I mean by that is that they had an experience in their own home, therefore they knew what it was like trying to get someone to help them. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying.
But okay, so here, did Lorraine claim to be a medium before that?
I don't know.
Or is that something she found that was, opportunity knocks, all of a sudden she's a medium? Because money.
Maybe it was there and she didn't want to acknowledge it until, I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Because the full details of this case, Stephen is the one that had cancer?
Yes.
Philip. No, Philip.
Philip had cancer.
That's not what the books that I read said, but
Hold on.
I know in the movie the kid's name's Matthew, so.
But
Right.
Stephen and Philip are two different kids, right?
Philip Snedeker is the one that had cancer.
Well, the book I read was wrong then, because.
And then
Philip was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I do know that he had treatments that were experimental, like they touch on that in the movie. And from what I found, they were actually told that if he started to see things or hear things or anything like that, he needed to notify.
So I'm trying to figure out which one, because actually, where'd you get your information, Sherry? Because I wonder if maybe I thought I heard, and this is what's making me question it, either on one of the videos or one of the things that I've read, that the son that had the cancer, because he was taking so many drugs for his cancer, the side effects of that led, like you said, the hallucinations and stuff, but he also was experimenting with other drugs. Or was that the other kid?
That I don't know.
Because whichever one was, I thought the one that had cancer was the one that was also diagnosed schizophrenic later.
Yeah, the one who had cancer is the one that was diagnosed schizophrenic.
Right. And he also had a drug problem, from what I understand. I wish I could remember where I saw that. So.
Well, his name must be Stephen Philip, or Philip Stephen or something, because it's not even showing up in this other thing I'm looking at. His name's not even showing, that name. But this is a book that was written, that I got my information from, that was written from their files.
Oh, okay, cool.
So,
yeah.
That's where I've been getting my information.
Yeah.
His full name was Philip Wayne Snedeker.
I don't know why then they're saying Stephen.
And he actually passed away on January 9th of 2012, from what I see.
Gosh,
I found his obituary. I'm going to send it to y'all. The family members are, hold on. Alan, Bradley, Carmen, their niece's name I think was
Tammy. I wonder why that book says that then. That's crazy.
I would just double verify anything that you pull out of it just to make sure,
Yeah, that's my
Alan,
bad.
Carmen, and their children, Philip, Bradley, Jennifer, and their niece, Tammy.
Unless they changed his name in their, you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe they did. I mean, that's absolutely feasible if they didn't want to let the information out at first, you know what I mean?
Right.
All right, so let's talk about Ray Garton. So I don't think Ray Garton liked Ed Warren at all. I don't think many people liked Ed Warren, actually.
Right.
Why would he? Can I stop you there and ask you, why would he agree to do a book with them then?
Because that was kind of the type of books that he wrote. He was a kind of a fantasy fiction, dark fiction writer.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I get made fun of for saying this, but he's a horror author.
He's written 60 books. There was a few that I had heard of. Horror novels such as the Bram Stoker Award nominated Live Girls, Crucifix, Lot Lizards, and The Loveliest Dead. Sex and Violence in Hollywood, Murder Was My Alibi, Trade Secrets. He also had, this is his big claim to fame, okay? It's kind of a big one. He used the pseudonym Joseph Locke. He had another one too, but I can't remember what it was. Joseph Locke was his other one. He didn't create Sabrina the Teenage Witch. But he did write novels for the franchise under the Joseph Locke name.
Hmm.
Gotcha.
I wonder if that's where the darker, newer version came from.
Yeah. The Troll Bride. I've never heard of that one. So, In a Dark Place, the story of a true haunting, that one was done in 1992. Garton's role was to bring the Warren story and findings to print, contributing to their legacy of published paranormal accounts. I found an interview that he did. Oh, okay. The other name was Arthur Darknell. Joseph Locke and Arthur Darknell are his other names. He did an interview with Jane Bled for Jane Bled's Author Spotlight in 2010. And I'm going to read this whole thing, okay? Because it's like 2 big paragraphs, but he talks about the Snedekers in both. So, all right. So she says, Joseph Locke and Arthur Darknell, how are they different from Ray Garton? Any similarities? Ray answers, I'm not much of a believer. My mind is wide open to all kinds of things, but I need more than a story, especially second or third hand, which so many true ghost stories are, to convince me. I've always been a skeptic, but the experience I had writing In a Dark Place, the story of a true haunting, did nothing to dispel my doubt. That book was published in 1992, and I've been denouncing it ever since. I know for a fact that it was complete and total fraud. My story hasn't changed in almost 18 years, but the story told by those involved has changed so much that Carmen Reed, formerly Snedeker, the wife and mother in the family allegedly by invisible demons in the former funeral home in which they lived, is writing a new book to incorporate those changes. So far, she's gotten 1 book deal, mine, 1 TV show on the Discovery Channel, and 1 movie out of her ever-changing story, and now she wants another book. Every time some true believer gets all squirmy and pissy about the facts and says, why would she lie? I point to all those things. Those are the only reasons that story exists, and Carmen was pretty clear about that from the beginning. I haven't seen anything to convince me that there are ghosts or demons or anything supernatural. I've seen no evidence of it. I'm not saying that nothing supernatural exists. I'm just saying that without a strong desire to believe in the supernatural to influence my thinking, I've seen nothing remotely convincing. I think if legitimate, respected scientific investigators ever discovered such evidence, we all would hear about it. But a couple of dudes with a spectospookometer and a video camera, or a couple of creaky religious frauds like Ed and Lorraine Warren, do not qualify as legitimate, respected scientific or investigators. So I remain unconvinced. And don't get me started on those goddamn paranormal reality shows that take up so much airtime on TV. I spent time with the Warrens. I saw how they worked, what they did, how they manipulated people who were already believers and already eager to hear, see, and feel things that weren't there, how they got them worked up into an emotional state of anxiety and fear, and I see nothing different in those idiotic TV shows. Those shows are popular not because they provide any convincing evidence or any evidence at all. They're popular because the people who watch them want to believe in that stuff. I just wish they'd corral all those shows onto 1 cable channel so they'd be easier to avoid. End quote. So, what do we think about that opinion? That's a big opinion, especially for somebody who worked closely with the Warrens.
Well, I mean, and another thing that I found about him where he was saying that the Warrens and the Snedekers, especially Carmen, were, scammers, frauds, whatever. He brings up the whole fact that Al, whatever you want to call him, was an alcoholic and that there was drug addiction problems.
Yeah.
And I think based off of the things that there's too many things that are inconsistent and too many things that are alike in too many different cases.
Yeah. I think maybe that's a trademark of the Warren touch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is our general consensus that everything they've ever investigated is a fraud?
Well, that's kind of why I brought up their very first case, which, in my opinion, would have been their own.
Right.
So I wonder if there was ever any documentation made anywhere public about their own. I think that would give us some insight.
I really think if we wanted to look any deeper into them, we should subscribe to that website where you can get more of the case files than just the few that are available without it.
But that may be something to consider down the road. I think for me personally, just to hear their names involved and attached to it makes me throw the brakes on, and I'll be honest, I lose a little bit of interest if they're attached to it, because I don't feel like you can really get validity there with them. Kind of
Right.
like watching a whack Bagan show, you know? Sherry, I think I probably already know what your final take on this is. What do you think?
On this one,
Yep.
to put it blunt, I call bullshit. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but I really do, because
Well, I mean,
okay, alcoholic, drug problems, and Philip, you know, fighting with the cancer and having the treatments and all of the things.
well, and that was, you know, I was actually, before we made our phone call, I was actually watching the movie, and, you know, there was a big scene where they talk about if he's seeing things that they have to, and they even, when they go to the doctor and the doctor asks, was he seeing things? And he's like, no. To me, it was their way of covering that up so that he could continue with his treatments.
Right. And I mean, from what I found, you know, that was a thing because the treatments that he was taking at that time were experimental. So,
Okay, so if they're all seeing it, it's not drug related.
but my thing is if you get enough people worked up in the same house.
Yeah.
Or you have a
it goes
mom and
back to that.
dad who's figured out the insurance scam, so now they have a haunted house and son still gets to keep his treatments.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then I go back to the whole things can be conjured.
Right.
So,
Well,
And I mean,
sure,
if you
but
look at it,
only if there's conjuring in the first place, and I don't think that was the case.
no, I'm talking about there is evidence that if enough people believe that there is something there, it creates something.
so I sent you guys a couple of things to look at on this.
The loveliest dead notes.
Yes, it's Rain Garden online, and there comes a place when you go further down. He says, I asked Ed for advice. He said they're crazy. All the people who come to us are crazy. Just use what you can and make the rest up. You write scary books, right? That's why we hired you. Just make it up and make it scary.
Yeah, I heard him say that on an interview, like on a recorded interview.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find that printed anywhere, so I couldn't verify that it was actually said. Yeah, that's crazy. So
Mm-hmm.
tell me that he's not an opportunist. What is it? Now, the part that bothers me the most about all of it with the Warrens is that means Lorraine was probably a fraud too, and I've heard people say that, and she was the one out of the two that I liked.
But
I was hoping there was some, there was an olive branch out there for her somewhere, but I don't know. I think they're a scammy bunch. And while they made great headway in the field of the paranormal, they raised more eyebrows than anything.
true.
But I'm with Sherry. I'm calling this one bullshit. A mom will do anything for her kid, and
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not even gonna judge her for that, because I mean, I've had a sick child.
yeah,
I put myself over $100,000 in debt over it, and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
yeah. You do what you
So
got to do to keep your kid alive, man.
right. So I'm not even gonna judge her on that.
Especially if you think about it from her perspective. You have this very, very, very sick boy that
Hmm.
you love with all of your heart, and if he dies, you die.
Right.
And meanwhile, you also have to take care of the rest of your children, and you have this bullshit of a husband. I mean, let's call it what it is, right? She was doing that shit on her own.
Right.
And
And I mean,
if you find a way through the weeds and the thicket, to come out on top, I mean, he lived for what, 25 more years?
yeah, I sent you guys his obituary. He passed away in January 9th, 2012.
Mm-hmm.
What did he pass from?
The cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma.
So he fought it that long?
Apparently, I'm assuming it probably had went into remission and it came back. Because it says when Philip was about 14 years old, in the obituary, he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. His treatment was at the University of Connecticut. But it goes on to tell all of the things. Sadly, Phil's cancer returned, and sadly, he did not survive. He was actually born in Marietta, Georgia. He was a truck driver at the time of his passing. Here's something interesting. Well, for me, it's interesting. He was actually, when he passed away at the age of 38, he was a resident of Johnson City, Tennessee. Rachel, you've been there to pick up a kid for me.
I have.
But yeah.
And they're all within, all the possessions are apparently within the Catholic faith.
Well, yeah, because they're the ones who believe that more than anybody else.
Then doesn't that tell you it's kind of bullshit? I mean, if it only happens within the Catholic faith, that would tell me that's some Catholic bullshit.
I don't think it happens. I don't believe that it happens only within the Catholic faith, because there's evidence. Well, let's not go there, but there's evidence in the Bible of possession. So, I think they're the only ones who recognize it now. And even now, they don't recognize it like they used to.
Yeah. But how many of these cases have all of them had drug activity involved?
Or health issues that could cause the hallucinations and whatnot.
Right.
I mean, every time I think of that, I think of Kelly and after her incident,
I know.
seeing giant spiders behind the couch and freaking out, and
Speaking different languages she's never spoken before in her life.
Okay, I just found something. I don't mean to
No,
interrupt, jump in, whatever. So it was actually Alan, was an alcoholic, but it says to know the things, knowing what was going on behind the haunting. It says knowing who the Snedekers were before and after their demonic interaction could help piece together who is telling the truth and who isn't. The Snedekers don't have the best background, with both parents having multiple drug abuse charges and a history of lying in business situations. Yep.
Okay. Who was that?
Huh?
Who was that said that?
It's a whole website that I found, that is a whole analysis on the family, like a psychological analysis on the family.
Send me that link. I am in my car, out of the elements, and a little mosquito just found me anyway.
He wants to drink your blood.
I guess so.
Ew.
She said you're ew.
Vampirology.
Hey, I think we've talked about those.
I think we have. All right. So if anybody else wants to look at that, it is bartleby.com. The Snedeker family analysis. That's an interesting one.
Yeah. No, I can't. Maybe I should start looking at these families more from a psychology standpoint. I mean, dang.
Well, I think it'll be easier to do that with cases that don't involve the Warrens, because I feel like the Warrens just, anytime their name is involved, it just gets polluted, just like I said earlier with wax bacon. That's what I was calling them. Well, before we switch gears, Rachel, I gotta get your take on it, because you've been kind of the voice of positivity for the Warrens the last 3 phone calls.
Well, honestly, I mean, while there are, I can have some rebuttals on certain things. I honestly, in this case, I feel like there needed to be more. That's something that I don't think the Warrens do, is, a lot of your priests that do an exorcism or whatever, when they come in, they rule out mental health issues before they ever,
Right.
And I feel like in this case, the medications that were experimental could have played a big role in this. And then if there's a drug history with the family and obviously a business problem, it sounds to me like this was a definite money grab for them. Because if she's still trying to write books, to fit the narrative, then
Maybe
obviously.
maybe she took a lesson from him, because I'm starting to see a pattern. When you said it out loud, it like hit me. What if we should probably take a deeper dive later on? Like, I want to switch gears for a while, like I said, because the Warrens are, ugh. But I feel like maybe he is finding more of an ability to make a public charade out of a family if mental illness is involved. And a public charade means money in his pocket. He doesn't have to charge.
Right.
Maybe it's worth looking into.
I could agree with that.
Yeah.
So we'll look into that a little bit later.
One of the questions that I had wrote down that I was thinking earlier, and I wish I had asked you guys, was why do you think that the activity seemed more focused heavily on Philip? Because that goes back to the whole, medications.
Well, that depends on if you think that it's real activity or,
Right.
if it's something that they've made up, then obviously it's not there. But if it's real activity, then I would say because he's the weaker individual.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you agree, Rachel?
Yeah.
And I would say that I think that it focused more around him just because of the medications, and it was easier for, he saw the things and everybody else just jumped on board.
But for that same reason, and I guess this is more towards Rachel, but for that exact same reason, I also feel like Ed Warren was also a parasite.
Wow. Yeah.
I know. I mean, I know it's a big statement, but that's what it looks like on the outside.
Right. No, I can agree. Okay, so.
Okay, well.
All
right, girls. I love this. I don't know if you guys like it as much as I like it, but I love doing this every week.
I do too. Bill
All
just
right,
made a pencil holder with our logo on it.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let me go because he's itching for me to get back in the house.
Alrighty.
And I'm going to start some research because I got to do it when I can, so.
Okay. Thanks, girls.
All right, we'll talk at you later.
Okay. Bye,
Actually,
Sherry.
I have to get on a damn video call with the Ghostbusters now, so.
Oh, how fun. Tell them I said hi.
I will.
Okay. All right. I will talk to you guys later.
All right.
All right, then.
All right.
Bye.
If you'd like to add to our conversation, or you have a case you'd like us to cover, leave us a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this video and subscribe.